Cool. Good morning, David Crisafulli, testing 1, 2, 3. Hello, Drew. How are you this morning? Cold. Was there a word before cold? Good. Thanks, Ian. Well, it's now been 7 days since the government received what is a landmark report. And for 7 days, we've waited for the Attorney-General to make some comments on some of the recommendations. But there is one in particular that must be acted on. So in the absence of the Attorney doing it, today myself and Amanda Camm are calling for the Queensland Government to immediately stop charging rape victims for testing kits. The fact that that is even a thing is an absolute absurdity. Imagine a victim having gone through a trauma like that, a young tourist. Imagine going through a trauma like that and then being asked to pay for your opportunity for justice. This is not a medical issue. This is a criminal justice issue. And we have reached a new level of absurdity if the Health Department and this state government believes it's fair and reasonable to charge victims of rape for a testing kit. And before I hand over to Amanda, I'm just going to make the following point. We understand that there are things in this report that will take time. And as a mature, responsible opposition, we will work with the government to deliver justice. And that is important for everyone. But there are things that can happen immediately, and this is one of them. And the report outlines that this should happen straight away. It's been 7 days. To the state government, please don't deny anyone justice for any longer. Please don't put any victims through what others have already been. End this practice today. Over to you, Amanda.
Thanks, David. And we do note it's been 7 days, and we certainly thank McMurdo and the entire task force for their work and their effort into this report. But when I reviewed this report and I read that victims of rape, of sexual assault, who are presenting at emergency departments across this state, at times having to travel over 1,000 kilometres, where we see a substandard rape kit being used in comparison to every other state, and then to be charged for what is a forensic examination because they are either a student, potentially a migrant, they are a First Nations individual that may not have their Medicare card, or whether they are a backpacker in my own local community across the Whitsundays who have come here to work in our industry. To hear that a billing process has not been addressed and that victims of rape are being charged up to $800 in some instances for this forensic examination is just absurd. This is a recommendation where it outlined by the task force for immediate action. We've not heard from the Attorney-General, we've not heard from the Minister for Health. Instead, what we have seen is we have seen the Attorney-General travel the state and, frankly, politicising what is a very important issue for women on social media, carrying on like a juvenile, instead of actually addressing what is real, a real reality, a re-traumatisation, and is actually, an insult to victims of what is a horrific crime. From what I understand, if they have not presented a Medicare card, yes, they have. And what that speaks to is when I've reached out to members of Queensland Health as well, so I've spoken with a forensic doctor, I've spoken with the Sexual Assault Service, the broader network, is that this has occurred more recently where it just seems that there has been a culture of a lack of recognition of what the impacts are. So when a young woman has presented and then is billed almost $800, and that bill is sent to her family when she comes from a Muslim background, the ramifications of receiving that invoice, not only the costs but also the lack of cultural awareness, points, I think, very to the heart of the lack of recognition by Queensland Health that this is actually a criminal justice matter. This is not a health matter. Absolutely, immediately. When I've spoken with sexual assault services, they've had to go in and advocate for women across this state who've been victims of rape, and it is simply through their advocacy that a bill is wiped or it is frozen and dealt with. That could occur right now. That could be a system-wide change that the Attorney General, the Minister for Health, could implement today. And this recommendation outlined immediate action. We've heard silence, and just to add to that, the other deafening silence is sexual assault services have been promised an increase in funding across this state in the state budget. They have yet to receive their contracts. It is now the 8th of July. We are 1 week into the new financial year, and sexual assault services that have been promised an increase in funding to support victims of rape have yet to receive their contracts or even know what the value of that funding is. So once again, this government cares more about how it looks than what it is actually doing and the impact that they are having.
And taking into account the processes that need to take place, how long does it take the government to implement all of these recommendations?
As the leader outlined, we acknowledge there is a lot of work to do in this report. There is significant reforms, and we're prepared to work with the government on many of these recommendations. And as we continue to review the report, we will be putting forward our policy ideas as well. But when you see a recommendation that is immediate, that is impacting girls, women, young men across our community, sometimes from our most vulnerable groups, I don't think there's any time to waste. And the fact that we've heard silence is not good enough.
Jacob, I might just make one other quick point. For those who say this isn't a medical issue, you wouldn't charge a bloke for an investigation who's lost his wallet, and you shouldn't charge a woman who's been through the trauma of a rape to try and get justice. This isn't a medical issue. This is a criminal justice issue. And the loophole should be changed and ended today. I'm going to make a couple of points. The first is Queensland Health was in crisis before we even knew what COVID was. So we've got to call the government out on that. Ambulance ramping had already doubled before we'd even heard of coronavirus. COVID has been the added complexity on an already struggling system. The problem for this government is they just can't plan, they can't execute things, they can't look at a problem and solve it. And until we have a change of approach or a change of government, you are going to continue to have people's lives turned upside down because of a government that can't deliver services on time and on budget. This is the latest complexity. And when I look at the ambulance ramping figures, when I look at the fact that we don't have beds at the best of times because of a generation of underinvestment, I'm deeply troubled by what lies ahead.
Do you think it's going to get more testing over the next 2 months with suspending service?
And the government's solution after 7 years of destroying the health system is to say, give us another 7 years and we can deliver some new hospitals. Queensland Health is in crisis right now, and we are urging them to take the solutions that we put on the table and get it fixed. Because when I look at the budget, I see the next financial year, the government's crowed about a record health spend. 1% of that money will be spent in the next 12 months. Barely half of it in the entire forwards. The government wants 7 years before they deliver hospitals after destroying the health system for the last 7. And I think every Queenslander will be deeply troubled that after seeing the decline in health services, now having 2 years to gear up, the government is unable to deliver things on time and on budget, and as a result we have the worst ambulance ramping in the country because of a generation of underinvestment and the inability to plan and deliver services for Queenslanders. We want the government to outline a plan to deliver services for people on the front line, and we don't have that at the moment. The government is dealing with things in a haphazard way. And what I want is an acknowledgement that Queensland Health was in crisis before COVID, and the government must listen to the solutions because COVID is an added layer of complexity. Now, we've put our solutions on the table. Better resources, better data, better triaging, and putting doctors and nurses back in charge. Those things could happen immediately. That's the way to make sure that Queenslanders don't have their lives turned upside down, inside out, every time the health system is tested. But if you look at the numbers, there is no getting away. Ambulance ramping had doubled before COVID was a thing. And the added complexity and a generation of underinvestment, poor planning, and an inability to put people on the front line back in charge continues to test the health system. And I say to every Queenslander, I understand the frustration. Please don't blame the doctors, the nurses, the paramedics, the allied health professionals. Blame the politicians that for 7 years have under-resourced and haven't allowed those people at the front line to make decisions. That's the reason why surgery is getting cancelled. COVID is an added layer of complexity on a health system that was already buckling under pressure.
The Deputy Premier is announcing a large-scale factory.
I haven't seen the details, so I won't comment specifically, but I will make this point. The government has to acknowledge that it has some challenges in the environmental space. And I point to protected areas as a classic example. Protected areas last year went backwards in Queensland. Now, we welcome any added investment in that space, but if you are serious about the environment, you will deliver things. You'll deliver it on time and on budget. And when you create protected areas, you'll manage them properly. If you're serious about emissions, you'll look at it, you'll work on it, and you'll outline a plan to detail it. Again, that hasn't happened in Queensland. So we'll welcome any investment when it comes to making a sustainable, affordable, reliable electricity network. Thank you. All the best, guys. Thanks a lot.